On this week's episode of Introverse Uncharted, you're sitting in a booth in your favorite restaurant. The woman behind you's steak, it came a little bit overcooked. She hails down her server. Likely your server, she's right behind you, right? You're in the same section. Is she nice to that server when the server gets to the table? Probably not. On this episode, we talk about the change in behavior of customers towards restaurants and their staffs. All right. Hello, all, and welcome to Introverse Uncharted, the show that aims to remove the gravity from your world and send you on a journey through the stars. As always, my name is John, and I'm going to be your guide into the Introverse this week. Boy, do we have a fun episode on hand, in my opinion. As a over 10-year restaurant worker, this topic has been eating away at me for a long time. And today, I am finally going to lose my mind. I mean, I'm really just going to talk about it, but I'm going to lose my mind about it, okay? Seriously, it's a big deal. But as always, happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day. That's right. You made it halfway through the week, right? So, if it's been an easy run, great. Good for you guys, right? If it's been tough, if nothing has gone good, if you had to go to the bank this morning, the line was too long, you had to get gas, and gas prices are outrageous, and traffic was just annoying, and your boss keeps sending you text messages, even when you're not working, a stiff drink may be in order. Even if you're on the side of the fence that's having a good week. Stiff drinks, baby. Stiff drinks. Whatever gets you through. Have a nice, the weather's turning really summery out there, right? I've been enjoying me some whiskey lemonades, but the lemonade is that new Sprite and strawberry lemonade. Fire. Absolutely incredible. Go get yourself a 12-pack of that Sprite strawberry lemonade and a handle of some cheap nonsense whiskey. Make yourself some whiskey lemonades. Cheers, you guys. Seriously. I hope you guys are having a great week. All right? There's plenty that we're going to cover in this specific episode. Let's start with what we always start with, right? The housekeeping. This is an amateur podcast. The angle's a little different this week, so you can see that the office that I have doesn't really have a door. It has a curtain. So this is why sometimes you can hear some stuff outside of this room. My kid, my wife. It's Wednesday. Wednesday happens to generally be lawn mowing day in my apartment complex, so there's a chance to hear that at some point. Who knows? But I'm sorry in advance if you do hear something in the background. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. Hopefully it doesn't affect how you see the show too terribly much. Where can you find more Introverse Uncharted content? It is the question that I receive least often. I'm just kidding. When people ask, the answers are always very straightforward because it's always the same, right? You go over to TikTok, head right on over while you can, because again, it's getting banned in certain states. Go on over to TikTok at Introverse_Uncharted, and you'll see me talking about nonsense, covering some wrestling, doing some weird filters, changing my voice, doing all the fun stuff. Go on over there to TikTok and check out the at Introverse_Uncharted channel now. Next, you can go to Instagram at Introverse_Uncharted13. I post about when the new episodes are coming out, what those new episodes are going to be about. I do all of that on Instagram, as well as on the Book of Faces Facebook. Go on over at Introverse Uncharted. Go follow that page on Facebook, and you will get all the updates you need about what's going to go on the podcast in the upcoming episode. That's what I'm talking about. With that, let's get into the pre-flight check portion of this show. See, again, we're calling it pre-flight checks because the first handful of episodes were about space. Last night, SpaceX was going to launch a Falcon rocket. and they scrubbed. Weather in Florida was bad, so we're going to try again tonight. Hopefully we get some cool rocket footage tonight. Maybe we get that cool jellyfish effect in the sky. Let's see what happens. But until then, into the pre-flight checks. Number 1. Oh, this is going to stir up the pot. Bye-bye, LeBron. The Nuggets swept the Lakers. And for a guy like me, whose entire TikTok was full of people who were like, Lakers in 6, LeBron's the GOAT. He's going to carry it all the way through to the championship. I see your LeBron, and I raise you Joker. And on to the finals, the Denver Nuggets go. Bye-bye, LeBron. Now you're hitting at retirement. Probably for the best, right? You've been around 20 years. And in 20 years, you still haven't been able to convince over half of the basketball populace that you're better than Michael Jordan, who played less time than you. Sorry, LeBron. I've never been a LeBron guy. I wasn't a LeBron guy at any of the teams he's ever been on. So, it gives my heart joy to see him flop off the court one more time. And the home team, the Nuggets, I'm in Denver. We go to the finals. That's pretty cool. Good luck to the Denver Nuggets in the finals. It's going to be pretty cool. Number 2. Canada is apparently on fire. Like all of Canada. If you look at the radar of where the wildfires are, they're all over, right? But I have a thought. Perhaps instead of sending the United States smoke from the Canadian wildfires, Canadian smoke, maybe we could just get a taste of Canadian universal healthcare. I would rather breathe in free healthcare than ash from your fires. Keep it to yourself, because the last week around here has been nothing but fog and smoke and grossness. And Colorado is currently dealing with like a moth migration that they're saying is going to last longer because of the smoke. So, clear out your smoke, send us your health care, and you can take the moths as a bonus. Thank you. This is how I announce my run for presidency. I'm just kidding. That will never happen. Hard pass. 3. The NFL is going to test out a new kickoff rule. The new kickoff rule will essentially say that it'll give the receiving team the ball at the 25-yard line, if they signal for a fair catch behind the 25-yard line. So at the 20-yard line, you wave a fair catch, you get the ball on the 25. At the 1-yard line, you wave a fair catch, you get the ball on the 25-yard line. In the end zone, you wave a fair catch, you get the ball on the 25-yard line. I don't know how I feel about this. I know why they're doing it, okay? Obviously, the reason is that they want to protect players. They don't want the running at each other contact. I get it. I totally understand that the league has been doing everything it can, short of making everybody wear pillows and bubble wrap, to protect the players, okay? I will say, I do feel that at some point it does take away from the game. It is a contact sport. Those boys know what they have signed up for, and most of them make millions of dollars. I think for millions of dollars, you can get tackled. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, helmet-to-helmet contact shouldn't be a thing, okay? Yeah. Everybody's aware. CTE and all the stuff, right? Wrestling fan here. Wrestling is full of CTE. I totally understand. But stop taking away from the game. Kickoffs are fun. Kickoff returns are fun. Sometimes they fire up a team, they get going. Obviously, teams can still elect to run the ball, but they're trying to encourage you now to not run the ball and to wave the fair catch and to take the ball at the 25-yard line. Again, Matt, Packers fan here, right? I love watching Nixon just run touchdown after touchdown after touchdown on kick returns. It happened, 3 times last year? Let's have some more of that. Like I said, protect the players. I totally get it. But at this point, every season, there is a new regulation to protect the players. We're about a stone's throw away from watching two-hand touch NFL football. That's what's coming. There's going to be pillows. There's going to be bubble wrap. There's going to be two-hand touch. That's what's going to happen. Because those guys want to make millions and millions and millions of dollars to be on national television, apparently not actually playing a sport. Pitchers are still getting hit with, balls coming off bats at, 110 miles an hour. We're not doing anything for that. They're not wearing, face masks, nothing like that. No, baseball isn't doing any of that kind of stuff. Basketball has enabled LeBron to flop and get technical fouls and stuff like that off and off and off for years. But football, oh man, you breathe on a quarterback and you are getting a 15-yard personal foul and an automatic first down. Yeah, I don't get it, right? The rule could be fine. We'll see. I liked the XFL setup a little bit more in the previous XFL run for kickoffs, but we'll see how this one goes. Again, all for protecting the heads of players, but let them play football. They know what they signed up for, and they weren't this protected in high school and in college and all that stuff. It's just getting out of hand. Let football be football. It becomes harder and harder to watch the more that we stop players from playing football. Period. Finally, the end of the pre-flight checks. We're going to talk Night of Champions this Saturday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, because it's in Saudi Arabia, and your boy didn't really realize that was a thing. So, I obviously know that they do pay-per-views in Saudi. I just forgot that this specific pay-per-view was in Saudi. Completely fine. It does change a little bit of the talking about going live thing. What it changes is I had a buddy who was going to go live with me. He works really early, so we were going to obviously do a live for a nighttime pay-per-view, which kind of works out, right? But the pay-per-view starts at 11 a.m. So I will still be going live. I'm going to go live right here on YouTube. It's going to be my very first live. I'm going to use it as kind of a bug control and see what I can accomplish through the live. I will be going live whether or not anybody actually watches. I will be giving my commentaries. Chances are you won't be physically able to watch the pay-per-view on my screen because I know that there are community guidelines and stuff like that for copyrights and for rebroadcasting. So hopefully, if you guys are going to tune in, you throw the pay-per-view on your TV, and on your phone, on your laptop, whatever. You tune into my broadcast, and you will get some live commentary from me. It's what I do all the time when I watch wrestling, whether or not anybody's listening. And that's what will be the plan. I'm going to go live at 10:45 a.m. on Saturday to get into, right before the pay-per-view starts, and then I will be here through the pay-per-view. It is obviously a longer thing. It's 3 hours, and it's during the daytime, so I will have obviously my kid running around and stuff like that. So the housekeeping will be in order for that as well. There will be noise in the background. I may have to leave the frame for a second and deal with something with my kid. These are all things that are possible, but I will be here for the 3 hours for the pay-per-view, with the main event being AJ Styles and Seth Rollins for the new World Heavyweight title. And Sami Zayn will finally get to wrestle in Saudi. It's going to be pretty cool. They're going to defend the Undisputed Tag Team Championships against the Bloodline. So let's see. I think it's going to be a really cool pay-per-view, and I hope that you guys tune in to watch me do the live stream. And with that being said, let's get to ignition.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, let's get into today's episode. Like I said in the open, this has been something that I have thought about for over a decade, right? So anybody, I think, who has worked in the service industry, and especially in restaurants, not just retail and stuff. It happens in retail too. I've seen it there, but way more common in restaurants. If you've worked in these industries a long time, you've seen, I don't know that it's a big change necessarily, but you've seen a change in the curve of how customers feel that they can treat establishments and their staff And then you throw in something like a global pandemic, and it just changes more and more and more. So today's episode, I'm going to talk about customer etiquette towards restaurants and their staff and how that has changed. I started working in restaurants when I was 15. So the very first restaurant job I ever had was like a dishwashing job. And then I have worked my way through the chains all the way up to being a kitchen manager in my previous job. And I've gone to culinary school and I've done all this stuff, right? But we'll start this off with the phrase. The phrase that has enabled customers to do and say whatever they want to staff and owners and vendors and all sorts of stuff for decades. And that phrase is "the customer is king." You may have also heard "the customer is always right," right? So these are things that we have heard. If you work in the industry, you hear it every day. Every single day. This is a door-opening phrase. The phrase "customer is king," or the phrase "the customer is always right," has whipped the door open for customers who know. This is going to be kind of majorative, but I think the majority of customers don't know what goes on through the flap doors into the kitchen, right? So we have opened the door with the phrase "customer is king" and "the customer is always right" for people with zero experience and zero knowledge and zero skills to tell either A, trained culinarians who have gone through culinary school and worked constantly, or B, your run-of-the-mill guy who is doing this to make ends meet and he's getting a paycheck. But what I'm going to say is also I think those two things are the same thing. But you're letting people with no experience, no skills, no knowledge tell these people, kitchen pirates, if you will. That's what I always used to think of it as, especially when you're working like corporate line work. You're a pirate. You're against what they're telling you to do from corporate, but you're doing the job because you want to get that plunder, get that treasure, get that booty. You know what I mean? So, we've allowed customers for decades now to assume that they know exactly what should be happening at all times, and they just don't. Sorry, like this is something again I've been holding on to for a minute, right? The average customer doesn't know how to perfectly cook a steak. Because a lot of customers that you deal with on a day-to-day, they're not making steaks at home. And if they are, they know two things. They know pink and they know not pink. Okay? There's a world in between that, right? In between those two things. There's a world. And that goes for other things. That goes for burgers. It goes for beef roasts and pork roasts now you can safely eat at 145. So you can get pink in a lot of different things. No pink chicken. I literally include chicken cook temp in interviews now to make sure that I'm not hiring people who are going to poison people. Okay? You can ask the last 6 people that I hired at my previous job. That was in their interview. I normally got one question in an interview, and that was going to be it. So, but back, I digress. If you don't know, it's really hard for you to tell trained culinarians, essentially, you know, what to do or how to do it properly. The Customer is King, though, has opened that door, has allowed customers and clientele within the industry to micromanage and nitpick all the way through. And it's not just the food, it's how the servers talk to you and behave, how clean the bathrooms are, all that stuff. Okay, we've opened the door for all of these complaints, right? Most of them, to me, should be things that are handled anyway, right? If you, as a customer, have to tell a server that the bathroom is dirty, then that establishment just isn't doing what it should be doing. However, there is a difference between very kindly saying, "Excuse me, I was just in your men's room. Seems really messy, right? Just wanted to give you a heads up. Didn't want anybody to complain, so I figured I would just be nice and tell you, so that nothing bad happens down the road. And, hey, that bathroom is an absolute disgrace. Somebody should get in there and clean that. Absolutely disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself." Those two phrases and those two approaches are vastly different. And I have heard both of them through all of the time I've worked in a restaurant, coupled with the amount of time that I eat in restaurants. Okay? It's sad. To me, it's sad. The lack of control that restaurants physically have for their environments, for their food quality, all that stuff. You have control, right? Like, I can make steak perfectly, but if that perfectly cooked steak isn't exactly what that customer thought it was going to be because they have a different notion of what it should be, then I'm still going to be wrong. And I'm still eating that steak cost, because we have definitely said the customer is king, and almost everybody in every establishment you go to, if you complain long enough, hard enough, aggressive enough, whatever, they will give you whatever you want for free. When I worked at Red Robin, it was essentially a passage of time for somebody to complain and for me to go, "I'm very sorry about how the burger came out. Can I interest you in a free mud pie or a free brownie cake?" It's all diversion to get them to not waste their time and call the corporate office. A lot of customers say they're going to do it. Okay, I've worked, again, a decade where I've heard customers every year, multiple times a year, say, "Oh, this is unacceptable, I'm calling corporate." Call them. They don't care. They don't care. There's a Scott Seiss joke. I see him on TikTok all the time. He was just in the movie Cocaine Bear. Just a bunch of stuff. He does very similar things, but he uses IKEA as his frame of reference. And one of his jokes is about somebody saying that they were going to call corporate, and his response being, "Call them." And I firmly stand by that, right? Call them. Because if you're lucky enough to get through to them, depending on the restaurant that you work in, again, man, when I worked at Red Robin, corporate is huge. And I worked at the Red Robin where the corporate office was like 10 steps away, and still you couldn't get salvage of problems. Okay? They still would take forever. And you could literally throw a rock out the back door of my building and hit their building. Like, it's just not, it's literally a stone's throw away. Call them. Call them. You're essentially getting the restaurant version of IT technical support from AT&T. You're getting somebody who does also not know how to cook. And if they did, they wouldn't be sitting behind a desk answering your customer phone calls. They don't know how to cook. They also don't know how to run a restaurant. Because again, they're answering IT support calls essentially for customers. Call them. Even the mudslide effect of them calling us, if it even happens, is so minute. "Oh, we got another complaint that your cooking burger is too raw." Not even too raw, but just too pink. Red Robin only goes off of some pink and no pink, so that's going to be the example I use on that. "Oh, your burgers are coming out too pink. We've gotten 10 complaints in a week." Okay, a lot of times the complaints don't necessarily even go that route. Every restaurant you go to now, Olive Garden, Applebee's, Chili's, Red Robin, they all use kiosks. They all use platforms that are on the table that you can pay on, you can order drinks on, you can order desserts on. And when you pay, coincidentally, at the end, there's a survey. And that survey determines a lot of stuff for the staff. Do the surveys. Okay? Do the surveys. I have seen plenty of people leave the surveys. If you leave the survey up, your server is going to do it for you. Just do the surveys and tell people how your experience was. Because both sides are good, right? If you had a bad experience, the restaurant gets to figure out what to do to make that service better. If you had a good service, you are helping out your server. At Red Robin specifically, when I worked there, good reviews on the kiosks led to you getting the better sections and the better shifts because they were doing it based on your productivity level. If you were not good and you were getting terrible reviews, you got smaller sections and stuff like that so they could coach and train. And that's what they said, right? That's still just politicking in its own. But you get what I'm saying. The survey actually helps. So please fill out the surveys, right? But, wow, that was a tangent. Either way. When you're calling corporate, they don't know. they don't know. They're never in the kitchen cooking. If they are in the kitchen, they're not telling you anything of any importance. It's just not, there's nothing, okay? You're wasting your time calling them. And we know that because we try calling them too, and it just doesn't add up and it doesn't do anything. So, call them. Call them. There is a way to talk to people that I think has been completely lost between the guest and the establishment. And both sides have made their own fair share of errors in this process. I have been to plenty of restaurants where the staff and ownership, especially if you're in a mom and pop or something like that, where the ownership feels that they can do and they can say anything that they want to whoever they want with zero repercussion. But on the other side, we get mad as restaurateurs or as employees or owners or cooks or dishwashers or bussers, whatever. We get mad because customers feel that they can walk on us as well with the aforementioned lack of knowledge, but yet they want full control of what they're getting. Sure, you're paying for it, so you do want to guarantee your quality. But if you don't know the process, then sometimes you don't know what the actual thing is that you're supposed to be getting, or how it's made, or the process that goes into making it, and then you complain and you get it for free and we're eating money. Both of these sides are wrong. Both. Ownership cannot do and say whatever they want to you. They cannot. They cannot. Because the customer is king. The customer should not be able to treat the staff as though that they are actually kings and that staff is peasants beneath them. Shouldn't be a thing. I have seen amazing servers get broken down by customers who assume that they know how things should be at all times. It's just not true. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you. If you are, and I don't necessarily like throwing this term around, but if you're a Karen and you're listening to this, stop it. Those are people that you don't know what's going on in their lives. And what I will say is, from working in restaurants, there's a reason that I call restaurant staffs, pirates. And it's because what I have seen is mostly a bunch of very tired and very broke people coupled in the same space with their own worlds of problems that are all intertangling. It's pretty self-destructive. I've seen some nonsense. And if you've worked in a restaurant like any of the aforementioned restaurants, you have seen them too. Corporate structure allots you to get way too involved with each other and each other's problems. It's very self-destructive. And then you have a Karen poking at you, telling you that you don't know what you're doing, that you don't know what you're talking about, that you can't do your job right, that they want their money back because you have made their experience awful. And you have to carry that. People don't talk to people anymore the way they want to be talked to. If a server is hearing that, if you're telling me, and I'm your server, that I have ruined your experience, that you have been worse off for having encountered me in this restaurant, and that you want your money back because of how ruined this process has been for you. If I said to you, you know what? My day is dramatically worse for having run into you. You have made my day absolutely awful. All these other people I've been dealing with are great. Very kind people. But you, Karen, are ruining my experience serving you. Somebody's calling corporate. Because restaurant people cannot defend themselves. No matter what. If we're being cussed at and screamed at, this branches every frame of restauranting until you hit 5-star, where you are pretentious enough and you have enough skill and enough money and enough ability to tell your customers that they can shuffle on out the door. It happens everywhere. I've worked fast food, I've worked fast cash, I've worked family style, I've worked mom and pop, I've done them all. Except for 5-star, and there's a reason. And I know some of you sarcastically are going to say, because you don't have the skill. I do. I just don't want to do that. People who are on staff in restaurants have zero ability to defend themselves, and that is why the Karen culture has been able to do what they have been doing for so long, and that is degrading staff. Here's another thing. While I gotcha, the server has nothing to do with your burger being cooked incorrectly. There, I said it. Here's something that I think people outside the restaurant don't get, right? So, let me break it down for you. When I worked for the Dirty Bird, I've aforementioned a restaurant that has a bird in its name. When I worked for the Dirty Bird, in order to be a shift supervisor, you had to work every position. The whole restaurant. You had to certify in these positions. Certifications came with a small raise, but they also came with the ability for you to fill into those spots. Okay. So when I wanted to do that, the one thing I didn't want to do was serve. I really had no desire to serve. As somebody who's worked in the kitchen almost his entire life, he really doesn't like doing customer interaction all that much. This is why. When you work in the kitchen, if a server messes up, if a server rings in a burger and they ring it in no pink, but the customer actually wanted it some pink, so that's a server error. Let's acknowledge that now. The server rang in a no pink burger when the customer wanted some pink. Okay, server error has occurred. Now that burger is going to go out. I'm going to call it dead, because if you get a well-done burger, that's what it is. You've murdered it, and you should feel some sort of shame for it. I digress. That burger goes out. It is now technically overcooked to what the customer asked for, but perfectly cooked to what the server has asked for. The server, 9 times out of 10, when they get the complaint, because it's going to happen, right? If that customer wanted pink and their burger's dead, they're going to tell you. If they tell them, hey, this burger, it's overcooked, that server, 9 times out of 10, is not going to say, hey man, that's my fault. I totally accidentally hit the button that said no pink instead of some pink. That's my bad. Do you want to know why they're not going to do that? Because they don't want to lose their tip. I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. I know because I've done it. Okay. Oh, hey man, sorry. It's no, they're never going to be like, it's my fault. I did it. I'm the person who made this error. What they're going to do is, oh man, I can't believe that this burger is overcooked. The kitchen normally crushes it. Let me go back there and holler at somebody and see what I can do for you. So the instant blame is shifted from the server, who is face-to-face with you, the guest. They're face-to-face. And now it is shifted to the kitchen. Do you want to know why that's really easy? Because the kitchen isn't going to come out to tell you what happened. If I'm on the line, again, I cooked this burger. I made this burger. This burger is cooked to the perfect, well-done hockey puck that you want it to be. I cooked it because the ticket said, burger, well done. When that customer complains and that server comes back and says, oh, the burger was overcooked, that's my bad, they're going to own it to the kitchen staff because they don't want to have problems the longer that the shift goes on, right? But when they're like, oh, my bad, I rang it in the wrong thing, can I get another burger? There is no chance that that server or that cook is going to grab the ticket that says this burger was supposed to be well done and go out to the table and be like, it was perfect. Okay? It's never going to happen. It's never going to, because then if I do that, if I bring that ticket to that customer and it says well done on the ticket, then you know as a customer that the server is who rang it in wrong and I did my job. Okay? It's really easy when you're the server to push it on the kitchen because the kitchen is not coming out to defend themselves. It's not going to happen. The ruthless band of hungover pirates back there is not leaving the kitchen to come and correct you. Even if they should sometimes. It's not going to happen. This is where we have enabled customers to just have this ability, and we've enabled staff to turn it onto each other in order to not face the consequences of making mistakes. Mistakes happen, you guys, and when we're working with POS systems, with point of sale systems, with computers which I'm touching because I need a burger, I need it well done, I need lettuce on it, whatever. Sometimes accidents happen. What is shameful to me is that we can't, that server can't look at that customer and be like, it's my bad. Because if they do that, they're going to lose tip. Depending on the customer. So me working in the restaurant for as long as I have, if a server comes to me and goes, hey man, it's my bad. I did it, my bad. We're getting it fixed for you. No complaints. You owned it. You did your job. And I'm happy with that. But there are, again, the Karens of the world who would still lose their mind and demand their money back. And take tip away from somebody who is making server minimum wage. Server minimum wage is not that much, folks. Pretty sure as of this year, it's like $9 an hour. So, if you work a job that pays you more than $9 an hour, tip your server. Even if they do a bad job. Okay? Because chances are, one, they're doing their best. Sometimes training doesn't work out. Sometimes you're just not cut for it. I've seen plenty of people not be good servers because they just weren't made to be good servers. Two, sometimes people have stuff going on and they bring it into work with them. I've been there. You've been there. You have been there. Do not lie. Whether you work as a cashier, whether you work as a server, whether you work as a CEO, whether you're doing tech development, whether you're doing sports analysis, whether you're podcasting, sometimes you bring your nonsense from outside of work into work. We've all done it. Show some sympathy. Help a brother out, man. You don't have to be another cog in the wheel of criticism that person is dealing with. Sorry. What did COVID change in this? What did COVID change? COVID, somehow, in the restaurant business, made customers less understanding. So if you go into especially a mom and pop nowadays, what I'm going to say is it's really tough to get good staff hired. Okay? It's not hard to get staff. It's hard to get reliable staff who want to do their jobs. Because now, for the most part, people want to get paid. Which I get. I want to get paid as well. With that being said, it's hard to get good staff. Reliable staff. Staff with a car. I have never had so much problems in the last year, other than the last year, of hiring people who don't have cars. Or don't have reliable transportation. Don't have somebody who can carpool, don't know how to use a bus, can't afford to Uber, and expect you to just kind of be waiting for it. So, where I'm heading with this thought process is if you are a customer going into a mom and pop restaurant and they are short-staffed, it's not because they want to be. It's hard. It's hard to get staff. It's hard to get reliable staff. Your service is going to adjust based on how much staff they have, right? So, on average, in the kitchen that I was previously working in, you had 2 to 3 people in there, depending on the day. If I have one person, because the other 2 have called out, they got sick, they have COVID, whatever, I can only do so much with these hands, right? At least at a certain pace. So you got to give me time. It's not going to be the regular 10 minutes. It's going to be 15 minutes. It's going to be 20 minutes. You just got to give me time. And your food will come. And it will be great. Just give me time. You would think after a worldwide pandemic, it was worldwide. I feel like a lot of times now, people, especially people who don't think COVID actually happened, think that this is just such a sparse thing. The world experienced COVID. You'd think with the whole world having to deal with this one problem at the same exact time that we could have developed a source of understanding. A sense of, hey, things happen and sometimes we have to adapt to what is happening. That didn't happen. It did not happen. I have had more customer trouble after COVID than before COVID. People don't understand now. They don't understand the struggle that is happening outside of their view. It goes back to the food being wrong. It goes back to not having the right amount of staffing. It happens. Sometimes people call out, man. And COVID kicked the door open for you to do that. When I worked fast food in high school, I worked for a Burger King location in Colorado. And I had 103 fever one afternoon. I called in sick. And when I called in sick, my general manager informed me that I was screwing over her team. With 103 fever, right? You'd rather me come in with 103 fever and get the rest of your staff sick, just so you can get through tonight good, than have me rest and come back better. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. It was not the only place that I heard that. I went into the Dirty Bird one time with a similar fever, and they gave me orange juice because vitamin C cures everything. That actually happened. So, COVID kicked the door open for staff to have the ability to take sick time, whether or not you like it or not. If I'm sick, I don't have to come in. Because we have now seen a virus that has passed through the world and killed a lot of people. So you don't want me possibly bringing that to you. Or to people who are in the high-risk category. The people who are already sick. People who are overweight. All the stuff that they said they were worried about with COVID. So now I have the ability to call out if I'm actually sick. And if I call out, you're short-staffed. And if you're short-staffed, you're going to get criticism from the customers for being a touch slower. Patience is a virtue. I'm not that sorry about it. If you are taking the time to come out, it's because you don't want to cook. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't want to cook a lot of times either. But you can still classify that decision as a lazy decision. I want somebody else to cook for me is the decision at which was made. It's a lazy decision. You don't get to turn your lazy decision into pent-up aggression towards me for being short-staffed. Sorry. It's not a thing. One other thing that kind of bothers me in this situation, right, is the aforementioned mom and pop restaurant that I have worked for and mentioned in a couple of videos. I still won't name them. I don't want any problems. They used to have signs posted about watching your own children. They had like pinball machines and stuff like that. Expensive. Pinball machines are expensive. If you don't know, look them up. I have a friend who may watch this podcast. Hi, Kendra. Who owns pinball machines and who is a huge pinball enthusiast. They're expensive. I have seen parents let their kids stand on the glass of pinball tables. That glass is this thick. It is not tempered. It will shard into your kid if it breaks. Use your head. Kids off the pinball table. Why do I have to even say that? Why does a restaurant have to post signs that say, please watch your own kids, our staff are not babysitters? I have a kid. Trust me, it's really cool when other people watch your kid for a brief amount of time, give you a little bit of a break. Servers and bartenders are not your babysitter. There, I said it. Keep your kid at your table. If you're lucky enough to be in a restaurant like the one that I aforementioned, that has a game area, go with your kids into the game area. Supervision is required, and not my supervision. as the staff of this restaurant. I have seen far too many servers have to yell at far too many kids for doing things like jumping on pinball tables, and then their parents be like, "Oh, I didn't think they were doing anything wrong." You would know if you were watching. You as the guest don't own, just because you're paying for your food or your beers or whatever you're having, does not mean you own the restaurant. And therefore, you cannot just like break whatever you want and get away with it. The same aforementioned mom and pop restaurant that I worked for one time had a child in their loading dock, because the loading dock is in front of the building. It's like near the parking lot. There had children playing in their loading dock, and they put a rock through the window because they were throwing rocks at each other. Seems like there's some karma in there somewhere. But they broke one of our windows. The window coincidentally went to the office area and the prep room to the kitchen. When talking to those parents who were appalled that their children could do such a thing, they said they would pay. And they would leave us their contact information, which they did. And then they never answered the phone. Because why would they? They got away with it. They left the building without having to drop a cent towards that window. This is where the dynamic is wrong. If you cannot respect the restaurant's staff, if you cannot respect the restaurant's physical property, the well-being of the establishment, the building, the things that are on the walls in the building, the games, the tables, the chairs, anything that you are touching, don't go. One time I saw somebody rip a toilet seat off. It really had nothing to do with anything. They just did it because they thought it was funny. It's not funny. It costs the restaurant money. Not your money, apparently, but money nonetheless. Show some respect if you're going to go out. And that is a two-sided coin. The restaurant staff also needs to show you respect because you are spending your hard-earned money in their facility, allowing them to be open and continue the business that they're doing. It's a two-way street. Golden rule, folks. Treat each other how you want to be treated. That goes from customer to staff. It goes from staff to customer. It goes from owner to customer. It goes from staff to owner. It goes the whole route. This is why this is pent up for me for so long. It is shocking the amount of disrespect I have seen in restaurants at this point. On both sides. It's sad. It is sad. Should staff be required to take abuse from customers? Or vice versa? No. Nobody should have to take any sort of nonsense. You don't get to cuss at me with me as your server. You don't get to cuss at me because you didn't get enough ice cubes or your fries were slightly soggy. They weren't the crispy that you wanted. You don't need to lose your mind. We can fix it. The problem can be solved together. Just give me a second to fix it. Give me an opportunity to fix it. Likewise, me as the server having a bad day outside of the restaurant or whatever does not give me the right to shortchange you, to disrespect you as the guest, to incorrectly ring in your stuff on purpose. I've seen it all. If you don't think that people don't actually spit in your food every now and then, it happens. And I've seen it happen. I have never done it because anybody who has a moral compass shouldn't do it. But I've worked fast food and I have seen it happen. If you treat people disrespectfully, there is an overwhelming chance that somebody is doing something to the food that you're going to ingest. Keep that in mind. You don't see what they're doing. And you don't know. Somebody spits in your milkshake, you're never going to know. You're never going to know. I've seen it happen. None of that is okay. Okay? Bringing in stuff from outside of work in order to abuse your customers, bad. Customers thinking that they know everything, and then abusing staff because of it, even though their knowledge has no physical backing, not okay. It's just not okay. Should customers and staff be required to take these abuses? No. They're your paying customers, or you're paying the staff. The staff shouldn't just be getting sworn at. I've seen it happen too many times. If you are going to swear, if I own a restaurant, ever, if you're going to swear at one of my staff, you're going to be swearing from your car because you're not welcome. On the opposite side, if a customer has done nothing wrong and you're being crappy to them, you also can think about it from your car on your way home. We need to respect each other because this wheel only works with both sides. You need staff and you need customers to make all the nifty things, right? To make the money, to pay for the establishment, to keep the establishment running so that you can have more customers. Around and around and around it goes. I don't know what has happened, but it is shockingly bad. This one is one of my favorite things to think about. Favorite in two ways. One, just because it is kind of ironic, and two, because it's annoying. Does being a regular to an establishment make you entitled to get your way? I'm going to let that sit there for a second. I know plenty of regulars, especially the aforementioned mom and pop, who could do essentially whatever they wanted, including go behind the bar, talk to customers, other staff, however they wanted, come and go as they please, park wherever they want, roam through the building where only staff should be. I have seen it. I have also seen staff in this said establishment talking to these regulars in ways that probably shouldn't happen in front of other customers. People who know the place I'm talking about know the situation at which I'm talking about. We shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. Being a regular does not make you special. It means that you have nothing else going on and you want to hang out in a bar or whatever the entire day, dumping your hard-earned money into this establishment that will keep on floating without you. And I know some pretty cool regulars. I know regulars that I miss to this day. And I've been out of my job over a month now. Being a regular doesn't give you the right to be a tool. Sorry. Having a regular at your counter or at your table doesn't give you the right to shortchange their experience either. This is a two-way street. Restaurants should be all about morality, right? Because you're feeding people. Rule number 1, don't do any harm, right? Kind of like the Hippocratic Oath of doctors, do no wrong, yeah? Yeah, they're trusting you that you're not going to poison them, so don't poison them. But they also shouldn't be able to treat you like crap. You can't treat them like crap. This is a whole thing. And to this day, I have only found one exception to the rule. And that exception is called Dick's Last Resort. Look it up. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. In that restaurant, the staff can say whatever they want to you. It is the most foolproof process I've ever seen. If a customer is being rude to you, you can be rude back. You are protected by the company. It's amazing. It's amazing because it's a gimmick. Because not every restaurant is ever going to go that route. Not every restaurant is going to allow you to just be crappy to your customers or whatever. Even if those customers are being crappy to you. Doesn't always happen. But check out Dick's Last Resort. If you've never been there, go there. There's not one in, I'm here in Colorado. I'm pretty sure there's not one here, but I know there's one in Vegas. Stuff like that. Look them up. Look up Dick's Last Resort. You'll get a kick out of at least their business model, let alone what they do. But that's the only exception to the rule that I've ever seen, is Dick's Last Resort could say whatever they wanted to you if you were being, even if you weren't being disrespectful. Their gimmick is essentially that they can do and say whatever they want at you in a restaurant, obviously within reason. I've seen people get dunce caps put on them. Like, that restaurant is off the chain. Check them out. What does this mean for the future of restaurants, for how the customer base is now? I think what it will always allude to is the one thing that I have mentioned a couple times in this, and that is turnover. Staff turnover is already bad in restaurants. It's awful. People will come and go. People are loyal to the guy with the most hourly cash, essentially. I've been guilty of it. I have said it time and time again, especially while working at corporate restaurants. I will be loyal to the highest bidder, to the person who is going to make my life easier and give me the most amount of money. So people come and go. If you're a server especially, and people are talking trash to you every single day and being rude to you, you're way more apt to try to find something different where you're not taking that mental abuse. Okay? So staff turnover, I think, will continue on the nifty uphill that it has gone into. COVID has kind of helped with that too, though, because COVID, again, has made you kind of know your value, right? Before COVID, if you were sick, like I mentioned before, restaurants and managers and all sorts of stuff could try to manipulate you into coming in still. Oh, you're going to screw your team over. They're going to try to manipulate you because they need you and they don't want to do the extra work. Whereas COVID opened the door for you to know that you deserve to make money and you deserve to be respected and you deserve to have what is going on in your body cared about and taken care of. And you need to be healthy and all that kind of stuff for this wheel to continue to turn. COVID did that. So for those of everybody who hated COVID, COVID made it so that workers can know their value. If any at all. Because again, it's become harder to hire reliable staff since COVID. It also means higher compensation. More raises, right? They're required, essentially. You now I can demand more money. But that comes as a two-way street because sometimes the company that you're working for doesn't have the money to give. And so you end up in this circle of, I need more money. I'm working all these hours. I need more money. Oh, well, we don't have the money. Raises and compensation obviously take away from the overhead of the company. So that's why companies are always kind of stingy about raises and stuff like that. But this is, again, a revolving door where if I, as the person who's asking for the raise, do not get that raise, there is a chance that I turn over and go somewhere else where they can. It is a revolving door industry. The service industry is a gigantic revolving door. It is shameful at times, but it is true. It sucks. It sucks sometimes that the things just don't always work perfectly. Especially in such a cool industry. The culinary industry, the service industry can be so cool. I have met some of the best people just working in this industry. Some of the best staff, some of the best teammates, some of the best customers. I have known people in the industry to have passed away after I've been done working with them. And it sucks. It's losing a teammate. It's losing especially if you're grinding all the time, you're in a kitchen, it's losing a brother or a sister. It's losing somebody that you have shed sweat and blood with on a Friday night during a ridiculous sporting event, or at the particular Dirty Bird I worked at, there was a concert venue right around the corner. It's getting slogged on and you become family. It's why camaraderie is so big. It's why people fooling around with each other in the restaurant business is so big. You're with each other all the time. It's real life. You become attached to people. And like I said, I've lost people. I've had people pass away after I stopped working with them, and it changes it. It changes everything. Because then you never get that moment back with your teammates. That sucks. The industry has taken a turn, you guys. It's not so cut and dry. The customer is apparently still king and always will be. But that kicks the door open for the serving staff and the wait staff and the kitchen staff and the hosts and the bussers and the owners and the bartenders to all take abuse that they shouldn't have to take. And then turnover happens. And when turnover happens, you're short-staffed and more complaints roll in. And then the staff that's there picking up the extra time, well, they want more money because now they're picking up dead weight. And when you don't give them that money, they're going to go, and the turnover continues, and the wheel rolls on. The moral to this story, you guys, because I know I've just rambled on, dropping a lot of negative secrets and ins and outs of restaurants, but the moral of the story is that the next time you go to a restaurant and you have a server, and maybe that server isn't the greatest server you've ever had. Gordon Ramsay did not hire this server, okay? Cut him some slack. It doesn't have to be a ton of slack, right? You don't have to give him $1,000 just out of sympathy. But you never know what people have going on. And likewise, to all of my friends out there who still work in the restaurants, you don't always know what servers have going on, or what customers have going on. Sorry. You got to show some sympathy yourself. It's not always about, for the customer, it's not always about you. For the staff, it is also not always about you. We can't do these things without each other. Restaurants don't exist without customers and without staff. The door is its own thing. The wheel keeps turning, but you need both pieces of the puzzle in order to achieve that. With that being said, go out and eat. Right now. Stop what you're doing, go out and eat. Support local. Local food is super fun, guys. Food trucks, mom and pops, breweries. Go check them out. Some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet are inside of those doors. And all they want to do is give you as a customer something you can enjoy, and they take pride in that. So go on out and find a good local place. Corporations will survive for a long time, even without you. They have overhead and capital and all sorts of stuff. Mom and pops need your business. So go on out, get some mom and pop grub, get a handmade beer, all that stuff. Local. Shop local. All right, guys. Generally, at this point, I do a summary of the episode. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it oddly quick because I think this episode is spoken for itself compared to a lot of my other episodes. The moral of the story, guys, is just to treat each other how you want to be treated, whether you're a customer or whether you're staff. The shift in dynamic to having customers be able to just abuse staff is unacceptable and not tolerable. Shouldn't be tolerated. Shouldn't be accepted. Should not be welcomed. If you treat staff poorly, you should be asked to leave. And likewise, as a worker for a restaurant, as an employee, you should not be able to take out your own nonsense on customers. Whether or not you agree with those customers in any way, shape, or form, who they are, what they are, who they're aligned with politically, all that stuff is not important. You cannot, those things don't exist without the other. Restaurants don't exist without their staff and without their customer base to keep bringing in revenue. So, if you guys want to keep having sweet places to eat, awesome mom and pops to get that local beer, to get that burger that you just can't seem to get at a Dirty Bird, we have to have respect for both sides of the coin. For the people who are grinding day in and day out for that industry, and for the people spending their hard-earned money to keep that industry floating. In the future, I'll be doing an episode about ownership and how they treat their staffs, because it's on the same coin. Not something that was covered as much today. But I have plenty of opinions about higher-ups and how they treat their staff and the cascade effect that is that. So that will be on a future episode as well. As always, we're going to end this thing how we always do, right? With a quote of the day. We talked food today a little bit. Not necessarily just food, but more about people's impact on the food industry. And so with that being said, I'm going to go to a food icon for the quote of the day. I'm going to go with Anthony Bourdain. And he said, "You learn a lot about someone when you share a meal with them." And it's true, unless you're sitting there in dead silence just listening to forks clinking. You're talking and you're learning. And I've made plenty of good friends over some meals. Culinary school was all about that. Was going out after Friday class and just trying out some new local food and talking and getting to know people. And unfortunately, I don't talk to a lot of them anymore. You fall apart once people move back to their respective areas and their states and all that stuff after college. But To anybody from culinary school who's watching, I hope you're all doing well. And I appreciated the journey with you and all of the food that we got to slay together. Night of Champions. Live stream right here on the YouTube channel, Introverse Uncharted, 10:45 a.m. Saturday. That's Mountain Standard Time. I'm not going to do the math for every region, you guys. 1 o'clock Eastern is when the pay-per-view starts. So that's 12:45 Eastern, 10:45 our time here in Mountain Time for the live stream. Check it out. Tune in. Let's chat. Let's talk. Let's do stuff during the event. You're going to get my live commentary. I love commentary for this. I feel like I could be a WWE commentator without a script. Let's go. Tune in. Saturday, Night of Champions, 10:45 a.m. Mountain Time for my live stream. Where can you find more Introverse Uncharted content? Well, I told you right at the very beginning. TikTok, at Introverse_Uncharted. Go over there and follow me right now. Instagram, at Introverse_Uncharted13. Go check it out. Go follow it so that you can see updates on what's coming out, what's happening on the channel. Facebook, at Introverse Uncharted, same thing. It's where you're going to get all the updates. Go check those out right now. This is drawn to a close, so take the time, if you would, please. Like, follow, share, subscribe. All the stuff. Hit the bell button. That way you can get all the notifications about Introverse Uncharted and what they got going on. Alright, guys. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the show this week. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, drop a comment, share it with your neighbor, your mailman, your local police officer. Share it with your local bartender, server, chef, owner. Go into your favorite restaurant. Tell them all about Introverse Uncharted and us talking about the restaurant business right here today. Until then, until next time, I bid you to do more than just exist, you guys, and come with me into the Uncharted. See you later.